Hi everyone, my name is Abhishek and I'm a legal intern at Lexis and Company. So today's my topic is admissibility of digital evidence. So as we all know, the evidence is a corroboration of statement placed before the court in a manner which undisputedly establishes it as a fact. It may be presented through witnesses, materials, objects or electronic records, which shows a trail that can reliably indicate linkage of the offences to the probable offender. So the witnesses may rely on an account of what they saw or heard. So material objects may be examined in a forensic lab and may be traced back to the offender. So electronic records are however not so easy to obtain and decipher, and many modalities occurs when they are placed on the stand to examine their reliability. So, owing to its intangible nature of digital evidence, can be encoded and encrypted, and therefore they must be decoded before the court could proceed to accept or reject them. Being sensitive, electronic records can be altered very easily, and any alteration that may take place can render them inadmissible. So, to tracing the electronic records to the offender also poses a task. The information passes through the innumerable channels, and a follow-it back may constitute violation of privacy of the intermediaries involved, which the court may not readily grant and accept. So, however, with all the setbacks involved with the presentation and admission of digital evidence, they constitute an inextricable part of the modern justice system, where often reliance is placed on CCTV footage, call records, geolocation, etc. to determine various aspects involved in criminal and civil offences. So let us talk about the Section 65 of the Indian Evidence Act 2000. So in the digital area, where most communication transactions take place through the online medium, the importance of electronic records has been realized for proving offences, and subsequently through amendments, Section 65 has been expanded to give sanction to the electronic records as digital evidence. So Section 65A and Section 65B lays down criterion for the admissibility of electronic records as evidence. First one is the evidence is produced out of computer is regular use for any lawful activity during the period. Second one is information of the kind produced as evidence was regularly fed into the computer as a part of daily activities. Third one is the operation of the computer does not compromise the accuracy of the electronic records so produced. So reliance on secondary electronic evidence can only be placed if a certificate is produced with the electronic record being posed as evidence. For primary evidence in electronic records, no such certificate is required to be produced. The sensitivity of these evidence may places them under strict observation by the court to ensure originality. So time and again the court have reiterated that evidences gained by new techniques and devices cannot be refused as evidence, provided that their accuracy can be proved. So in the Supreme Court observed in the case of R.M. Malkani versus State of Maharashtra that tape recorded conversation is admissible in evidence provided that conversation is relevant to the matter in issue, and that there is identification of the voice, and that the accuracy of the conversation is proved by eliminating the possibility of erasing the tape recorded version. So the contemporaneous tape record of a relevant conversation is a relevant fact, and is admissible under Section 7 of the Indian Evidence Act. So subject to Section 65 of digital evidence must be produced without any human intervention, and electronic record shall be considered as document only if the computer which produced the record had been regularly in use, the information fed into the computer was part of the regular use of the computer, and the computer had been operating properly. So in the case of State versus Mohammed Afzal and ORS, the court held that the computer generated electronic records is evidence and admissible at a trial if proved in the manner specified by Section 65B of the Evidence Act. In another case, in State versus Navjot Sandhu, the court held that merely because a certificate containing the details in subsection 4 of the Section 65B is not filed in the instant case does not mean that secondary evidence cannot be given if the law permits such evidence to given in the circumstances mentioned in the relevant provisions, namely section 63 and 65. So, in the another case of Sanjay Singh Rama Rao Chavan versus Dattatreya Gulab Rao Phalke, in this case, the offence of demanding bribe was sought to be proved by producing tape-recorded conversation, which the Supreme Court found to be inadmissible. In fact, the Directorate of Forensic Science and Laboratories, State of Maharashtra, had stated in its report that the conversation is not in audible condition and hence the same was not considered for spectrographic analysis. So the learned counsel for the respondent submitted that the conversation had been translated and same had been verified by the punch witnesses. So admittedly, the punch witness had not heard the conversation since they were not present in the room. The Supreme Court held that as a voice recorder was itself not subjected to analysis, there was no point in placing lines of the translated version having no source of authenticity of the transaction. So handling and subsequent product of decoded evidence is significant to ensure admissibility in the court. It must establish in a reliable and cogent manner the statement produced and must be in accordance with the provisions mentioned in the Evidence and the Information Technology Act. So the digital, on the end notes, the digital evidence, though hard to obtain and trace, are the need of the era, and reliance on them has been placed time and again to prove facts in civil and criminal cases. So that's it. Thank you.